Hey everyone, my name is Matthew Bratcher and I'm the Executive Director for Kentucky NORML. I'm very excited to be here today discussing some cannabis reform here in the Commonwealth. Today we're going to look at the upcoming medical cannabis bill being sponsored by Representative Jason Nemus, a Republican out of District 33. And if we have time, we'll touch on the new federal bill, the States Reform Act, introduced this week by Representative Mays, Republican out of South Carolina. If you have any questions about the medical cannabis bill or the States Reform Act, please drop them in the chat and we'll try to get to them as best we can. As always, it's best to stay in the know. It's to subscribe to our email list on our website at kentuckynormal.org for the latest updates on cannabis reform in Kentucky. Coming up after the first of the year, we're going to be getting ready for our Smoke the Vote campaign, where we'll grade our state legislators and release a voter's guide on their stances on cannabis, so that their constituents can have a clear view on those who do support reform and for those who stand in its way. So keep an eye out for the results of that. We'll have that out shortly after the legislative session. But before we get into all that, I want to take a moment to shout out our newest business sponsor, Experimental Farms. Founded in 2018 by fourth-generation farmers and school teachers, Experimental Farm produces Kentucky-made, premium quality, small batch CBD with simple ingredients. Grown in Philpott, Kentucky, on the family farm, Experimental Farm CBD uses only one strain for their products. Their proprietary strain of hemp was chosen for its unique terpene profile and healing properties. You can find them online at experimentalfarms.com. And for more information about becoming a business sponsor, go to kentuckynormal.org/support-us. All right. So last month, the Interim Joint Judiciary Committee met to go over a number of issues, and medical cannabis was one of the topics up for discussion. Over the last few years, we've seen HB 136 take on a few different incarnations, and during the 2020 legislative session, it seemed as if it would pass. However, that was not to be, and even last session, it stalled out and wasn't even assigned a committee. So for our meeting this month, we wanted to talk about the medical cannabis bill, and we reached out to Representative Nemus as well as Representative Gentry, both sponsors of this bill, but due to scheduling issues, they were unable to make the call today. That's okay. We're all busy. It's a busy time of year. So in place of a discussion with the lead sponsors, we have clips with Representative Nemus's remarks from his testimony during committee last month, as well as a quote from Senator Whitney Westerfield. For those unfamiliar, Senator Westerfield chairs the Senate Judiciary Committee, and a couple of years ago, he was one of the major holdups after HB 136 passed the House of Representatives by a large margin. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to play some clips from Representative Nemus.
But I know beyond a shadow of doubt, and so does every person up there, that it helps people. We took the best parts from other states, from Oklahoma, from Colorado, from Connecticut, from all the states, and we made the Kentucky version. This is the tightest version, much tighter than I want it to be, but I think it's a tight version that I think we can get past. We've tightened the rules on caregivers and a number of other things to improve the bill. This is the most responsible bill, the most protective bill of public safety that you can have that will be in the whole country. What is not in this bill? This bill is no smoke. I hear a lot of people beat up on the bill because they're going to folks saying smoke, smoke, smoke. This bill's no smoke. This bill has no self-grow. I've taken some things out of the bill that I think should be in it in order to get it passed. But it does not have smoke. It does not have self-grow. Section 4 has purchase and possession limits. You can only have 30 days limit at one time, 10 days on your person unless you're transporting at home. You have to have a qualifying condition. We've noted 4 qualifying conditions. It's not wide open. It goes into the Department of Health, not the Alcohol Beverage Control. It requires a pharmacist's approval, annual approval. From the beginning, in-person visit with the pharmacist, and continuous by telehealth, and they have to be annual visit at least once a year. The information goes into Casper, so folks can see it. All the players can see it, including law enforcement. Section 3 allows the Department of Public Health to regulate and tells them what to do, how to go through the accreditation process. It sets up a board. The board has 8 doctors and APRNs appointed by the governor. They have to have expertise in particular enumerated areas, has 1 pharmacist and 6 patient advocates. Section 7, after talking with the Chamber of Commerce, it talks about employer rights. Employers, I don't like this. Employers are not required to allow their employees to have medical cannabis, they can terminate them for that purpose. I thought it should be used the same as every other thing, opioids, which are much more dangerous. But in order to get the bill vote on in the House and to get it passed, we have allowed employers to have their own rules, including not allowing their employees to have a card and be a patient in getting medical cannabis.
In 2021, everything was put on hold because of COVID. And so while the bills were filed, they weren't even referred. But I reached out again. And to his credit, Representative Nemes responded, and we've been working for several months now, having a number of meetings, just Jason and me and Chris Joffrian on staff, the analyst and drafter. And we have worked through literally every section of the bill. Now, we've got a punch list. Now, don't do that, Senator Berg. I don't know if I'm going to vote for it or not, and I've told Representative Nemes that. But I'm a lot closer to being able to support something based on what we've worked through.
Pardon that. We'll go back over some of this again because, like I said, that's a lot of stuff to go through. So once again, let me share my screen, and we'll play clip by clip.
But I know beyond a shadow of doubt, and so does every person up there, that it helps people. We took the best parts from other states, from Oklahoma, from Colorado, from Connecticut, from all the states, and we made the Kentucky version. This is the tightest version, much tighter than I want it to be, but I think it's a tight version that I think we can get past. We've tightened the rules on caregivers and a number of other things to improve the bill.
All right, let's stop there for a second. So, let's just, for the big change with the caregivers, let me stop my screen share here. So the big change with the caregivers is that they narrowed down like the language of who a caregiver is and lowered the amount of people they can give care to. They've not said much about it publicly, so we'll just have to wait and see until, after the bill is filed. So let's steer a little bit more.
This is the most responsible bill, the most protective bill of public safety that you can have that will be in the whole country.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit, the public safety bill. It does seem to me that many legislators have spent a lot of their time trying to keep medical cannabis out of the patient's hands. And, and I know Nemes is trying to get something passed here. And so we're going to lose a lot of things along the way, and that's okay. That's kind of part of the political process. But we're looking for something more patient-centric than regulatory, I guess, is what you could say. And I'm not sure how well it'll bode for the program with all the redundancies built in. But, like I said, we'll just have to wait and see until the end. Let me get to the next little section here.
What is not in this bill? This bill is no smoke. I hear a lot of people beat up on the bill because they're going to folks saying smoke, smoke, smoke. This bill's no smoke. This bill has no self-grow. I've taken some things out of the bill that I think should be in it in order to get it passed. But it does not have smoke. It does not have self-grow.
Okay, let's stop there. So this is something that kind of gets brought up a lot, about the grow. So no smoke, and in the past that has kind of meant that cannabis flower could still be sold as long as it's not for smoking. Now I'm not sure what that means now or how that statement has evolved. So we'll have to, like I said, wait and see till after the bill is introduced and see if that means absolutely no flower at all. Now, for something that we really for is a patient-centric program, you really got to have patient home grow availability. These are easily regulated, and they are not a source of diversion, which is a major concern for many lawmakers, and it's understandable. They want to keep it for the people who can get it, and not in the hands of just out in the public. So I get that, but research has shown that home grows are not a source of diversion. And certain patients need particular strains of cannabis, and maybe that local dispensary will have something or something like it in stock. But if that's not, that's too bad. And you'll have to go somewhere else, and who knows how far the next dispensary could be when they do come up. So, home grows allow the patient to cultivate the exact strains they need for their conditions. So, that's important, and maybe we'll get around to getting something like that brought back. All the states that have had home grows in their bills, they've never repealed it. So if that tells you anything, that they can easily be monitored and dealt with. All right, let's get back in here a little bit.
Purchase and possession limits. You can only have 30 days limit at one time, 10 days on your person unless you're transporting at home. You have to have a qualifying condition. We've noted 4 qualifying conditions. It's not wide open.
Okay, another good spot to stop. So what they talked about there is first was the possession limits on possession. So in the past, a 30-day supply would mean something different depending on the patient, and presumably that would be worked out between you and your physician. Now, the qualifying conditions, he said there are 4. That's 4. Now, and they're looking at chronic pain, epilepsy, MS, and nausea, and most likely that's associated nausea with chemotherapy treatments. So, that's still a very small amount of people who will be able to qualify for the program. All right, let's go on a little bit more to the next section.
It goes into the Department of Health, not the Alcohol Beverage Control. It requires a pharmacist's approval, annual approval. From the beginning, in-person visit with the pharmacist, and continuous by telehealth, and they have to be annual visit at least once a year. The information goes into Casper, so folks can see it. All the players can see it, including law enforcement.
All right, good spot to stop. A lot was talked about there. So it's important to kind of like see what they're talking about. So with a lot of the other regulatory things that the state is going to go through, the alcohol, ABC, a lot of other states use that same apparatus, and some states do the Department of Health. So that's sort of up in the air for whichever works best. And honestly, I can see the Department of Health being the one that do it. But for me, like my least favorite part of this bill is the addition of pharmacists into the process. And I've been fairly outspoken about this for a little bit. You get a recommendation from your doctor, who has to be certified to recommend cannabis to a patient by the Kentucky Board of Doctors. They then have to be reevaluated yearly to be able to do so. Your status as a cannabis patient also has to be reevaluated with him yearly. Then you go to a dispensary to get your medicine. But unlike most states with a patient-centric medical cannabis program, there's a pharmacist there who is mandated to have a relationship with that dispensary. And you have to do the same thing with them to get approval, and again, have yearly evaluations. This type of pharmacist dispensary relationship, it also doesn't bode well for potential small business owners. But I digress. Say the pharmacist decides that no, you can't have it for one reason or another. What does a pharmacist know about cannabis that your doctor doesn't? Less than some of our legislators. Most of our glorified data entry clerks who do more administrative duties, while the techs do all the job of filling prescriptions. And if they're so worried about diversion, then relying on pharmacists as a latch-ditch effort to restrict access sure hasn't done very well with our opioid crisis. So, in fact, some arrest records show that they have in fact exacerbated this. So many allow, through their own negligence or leaving the job up to untrained technicians, a mixing of prescription drugs that shouldn't be taken together. And so that was one of their concerns, is like, oh, how will cannabis interact with your medications? Well, your pharmacist knows that even less than your doctor does. And so, but they let medications go out that interact poorly together all the time. And but it's needless to say that this is a needless and redundant measure and inhibits patient access to cannabis therapy. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with the 6 or 7 pharmacists seated in the legislature that have absolutely nothing to gain from this. We've already seen one pharmacist, Representative Steve Sheldon from Bowling Green, try to attach an amendment in 2020 that would raise the fee for the pharmacist consultation from no more than $40 to at least $75. So that was had a cap on $40 and then no cap on the price at $75 minimum. So, you tell me. And, and that last part of what Nima said, I'm not a fan of Casper. I don't think it's a good program for patient privacy, in my opinion. Far too many people have access to Casper, and it's a long list of people. You can go on the Casper site and you can look up who has access, and it's a lot. It's a lot of people. And, and it's also not only that, Casper is shared is a multi-state program. I know we share with Ohio and maybe a couple of others. So I know they think they can save money by using Casper and not implementing a new program, but I'm here to tell you that patient confidentiality through this program raises some serious questions. All right, let's jump back in.
Section 3 allows the Department of Public Health to regulate and tells them what to do, how to go through the accreditation process. It sets up a board. The board has 8 doctors and APRNs appointed by the governor. They have to have expertise in particular enumerated areas, has 1 pharmacist and 6 patient advocates.
All right. This is kind of important. So we'll stop here and kind of talk about this real quick. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, no. All right. I'll get better at this. All right, so the MED or whatever they'll end up calling it. So the Marijuana Enforcement Division will be part of the Kentucky Department of Health. This will be an important body for when it comes time to adding to the list of qualified conditions or looking to expand the number of dispensary licenses that are available. He said 8 doctors and APRNs, 1 pharmacist, and 6 patient advocates. All governor appointees, if I heard that right. So that depends on who we have on governor, what sort of agenda they have, and how they feel about the program, depending on who they will appoint to that. And also depending on where, like I said, where these doctors and patients advocates come from, will determine what types of illnesses, if any, will be added to the list. All right, and this next one, this is a very serious business here. So let's get back into that real quick.
Chamber of Commerce has 1 pharmacist and 6 patient advocates.
Backing up just some.
Section 7, after talking with the Chamber of Commerce, it talks about employer rights. Employers, I don't like this. Employers are not required to allow their employees to have medical cannabis. They can terminate them for that purpose. I thought it should be used the same as every other thing, opioids, which are much more dangerous. But in order to get the bill vote on in the House and to get it passed, we have allowed employers to have their own rules, including not allowing their employees to have a card and be a patient in getting medical cannabis.
So Chamber of Commerce has chimed in, but I strongly agree with Representative Nemes here. By not having employment patient protections for prospective, medical cannabis participants, it is a big turnoff. The threat of losing your job for being a medical cannabis patient, while someone down the line or across the office is on doctor prescribes opioids, where they statistically cause a much more dangerous workplace environment, they have more protections. This is discrimination, and this isn't right. Some of you might be asking, what about the Americans with Disability Act, which prohibits discrimination against employees with disabilities and requires employers to provide reasonable accommodation to them. Your epilepsy might qualify you as a disability under the ADA, depending on whether it substantially limits major life activity, in which many cases it does. But the ADA does require employers to accommodate an employee's use of legal prescription drugs for disability, and it does not protect against illegal drug use. Since marijuana is still illegal under federal law for any purpose, it's still treated as a illegal drug by the ADA and other similar state laws. So many states have these protections, but apparently Kentucky's Chamber of Commerce has spoken, and they did so with their wallets, and they paid for those folks. You heard him say, talk to the chamber. Now now we've got the votes. Funny how that works. But they've got a lot of power, and that's just how it goes. All right, I think we got one more section left.
In 2021, everything was put on hold because of COVID. And so while the bills were filed, they weren't even referred. But I reached out again. And to his credit, Representative Nemes responded. And we've been working for several months now, having a number of meetings, just Jason and me and Chris Joffrian on staff, the analyst and drafter. And we have worked through literally every section of the bill. Now, we've got a punch list. Now, don't do that, Senator Berg. I don't know if I'm going to vote for it or not, and I've told Representative Nemes that. But I'm a lot closer to being able to support something based on what we've worked through.
All right. So, okay, this bill still treats cannabis as a dangerous drug on par with opioids. I mean, there's no doubt about it, the way they're going about regulation. proves this. Some of these Republican legislators, many of whom are very much against overregulated industries, have seemed to have gone out of their way to limit patient access and place redundant measures on the program. Representative Nemus said it himself. They know cannabis helps people, and he's trying to get the bill passed, but he needs the votes to get it across the finish line. And this is how we've ended up with what we have today. We know what Senator Westerfield said at the end, that he said some things he wanted to punch up. Also, so we don't know what will be in this bill until it's filed and sent to committee. I mean, even then it could change for better or for worse between now and when it gets to a final floor vote. While there's a few things that we would strongly advise against with this bill, such as a lack of worker protections for patients, possible cannabis deserts in areas due to limited dispensary license, the low number of qualifying conditions, patient privacy in the use of Casper for tracking, lack of home grows, no smokable flower, and the superfluous insertion of pharmacists into the program where they really have no business being brought in the program at any level. However, any forward movement is good movement, and it's up to us to let our legislators know what we want addressed with this or any bill. We all want a medical cannabis program that is patient-centric, where more thought is given towards the people suffering than towards how hard or tight they're going to make the rules for the people just trying to find relief. And you can call the legislative hotline to let your legislator know how you feel at 502-372-7181, and just let them know, hey, how you feel about any particular cannabis bills. Or you can go to kentuckynormal.org/take-action. And there's a list of things you could do there. It does have the number again to call. It's got some campaign letters you could sign up to get your message out there. And it looks like I am running out of time, so I'm not going to be able to touch on the States Reform Act. Well, I'm sure there'll be some normal emails out. So if you're signed up on the email list, you're probably getting nationals emails too. There's all kinds of good information coming through recently on that. So just keep a lookout for your inboxes and stay tuned. Next month, we're going to have a special guest with us. We'll let you know more about it later. I want to make sure everything's all ironed out first. I don't want to set expectations and something fall through, but we're excited to have them on, and we look forward to seeing you all around. And I want to thank everybody once again. Thanks for coming to the meeting, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Family's so important in these times, so we just spend that time with your family and talk to them about cannabis. All right, y'all have a good evening.